I think this sweltering day here in Brighton, UK is perhaps good because it's a reminder for me of Edinburgh and the Edinburgh Fringe. You might wonder why boiling hot tropical weather with quite humid heat is reminding me of a city right in the north of the UK, and the answer is simple: it is the heat. Because you will find if you go to the Edinburgh Fringe, and it's the nature of having 6, 8, 10 shows in one small venue with very little ventilation, is that it turns into a sauna very quickly. I think most people are hoping that it is not boiling hot during August in Edinburgh. A few days of sunshine are always welcome, but it can literally sweat you into discomfort. And that it's, I think I've mentioned that on another video about needing to cope with boiling hot venues and noisy fans in fringe venues, particularly at the Edinburgh Fringe. But this particular video has got me thinking about ushering. Let me start with the two extremes and why they're important. I notice that when I go on social media, there are often thank yous at the end of a run, and where it's gone really well, a show and a company and a producer, a director, a PR, publicist will thank a venue for hosting their show so well. They'll talk about the warm welcome that they got, the brilliant technicians, and the friendly and highly skilled ushers who knew about the shows, got audiences in and out very effectively, were warm and welcoming and informative, and that was all part of the audience experience and the reviewer experience too, and the experience of those making and presenting the work. And I would say there's nothing better than the happy family atmosphere in a venue where all of that comes together and works extremely well. And I think the challenge particularly for the ushering team is it can be show after show after show, and audiences need to be herded skillfully into venues, sometimes in 5 to 10 minutes, so that a show starts and finishes on time. And there will be latecomers and all those usual challenges that happen as people can't find their tickets and all sorts of things. And the skillness of the usher is really a bit like the skill of the air steward. It's the skill of the doctors, and then I'm going to put it the other way around, the nurses and the doctors and all the auxiliary staff in a hospital that make you feel better, because not only are you on medication or whatever, but actually your health and well-being is affected by the people looking after you. And I think that happens at the Fringe, and I think it happens because people are often in high states of tension about getting in and out of venues. And some people are in high states of tension because the show is sold out, but that puts the pressure in a boiling hot venue on making sure the show is brilliant, because there's a huge number of witnesses called the audience. So when it's gone well, you notice it, and you often notice it in the aftermath of what people are saying about their experience. But I experience, as you all will do in shops, particularly at airports, where the TripAdvisor review can be in a hotel, it's like nobody actually wanted me there. I felt like an animal being herded into a pen. They were rude, they didn't know what they were doing. And particularly ushers go into I don't know what the voice is, but I sometimes call it a train announcer voice, a bored voice, an irritated voice. Can you all hurry up please? That's it, tickets please. No, you're not allowed to go in there. And I'm not doing this very well because I'm surrounded by people getting their teas and coffees, and I don't want them to think I'm talking to them. Tutting can take place. People look impassive, irritated. People are minimal, talk as if something's obvious, and audiences get peed off because they don't feel they're being treated well or with respect, and they wonder what they've done wrong. And sometimes it's the audiences that are sounding hot, tired and bothered, and are talking to the ushers in ways where, when they're skillful, they have ways of holding their own and making it very clear that behaviour towards them is unacceptable, but that can also be done in ways that is skillful and maximises the well-being of the ushers themselves. They have every right to protect themselves from abuse and bad behaviour from audiences, but when ushers are under pressure and not trained, it's not that human beings do it deliberately, but that's when the experience is poor. And that is when a company might notice that the audience reaction, it can be to comedy, it can be to a play, is that pretty much everybody has been pissed off on the way in. So I think that's where you have to look after each other. I think that's where you have to get to know your ushers. I think there are definitely ways of ensuring, if you can, that they come and see your show. I think venues, you absolutely need to go beyond minimal training. You need to check in on well-being. People who are supervisors in ushering teams need different kinds of training about to handle stress. But I also think if you're making a show, then think about your ushers. Think about how they might be under pressure, and just a thank you after a show where it was particularly difficult can make all the difference. If you can see an usher is a bit of a loner, it might be worth inviting them to have a coffee with your team. Everyone can let off a bit of steam, and the key thing here is that ushering is not easy at the Fringe. But in the worst case experience, the people afterwards, have not had a good experience with the venue, will probably not have a good experience with all of the ushers either. We have to step off lines of blame. We have to see how we can all take responsibility to make sure that that works well. And of course, audience going in, I know you bought your tickets, but in a lot of cases people are a bit overworked, probably underpaid. Some of them are up to get the experience and they don't quite know what they're doing. And there's a bit of a learning curve, and not everybody gets along that learning curve even beyond a 3-week Fringe. Others get better at it. But I would say ushering at the Fringe is as vital a role as any of the other jobs that take place, and the Fringe wouldn't happen without you. And I think it is useful, if you don't feel trained enough, to go and ask for a bit of help or training, and to absolutely call in help, which good venues will have if you're feeling stressed, if you need to step away from a bad situation. I think venues have got better at it, and as I say, some are much better than others. As a Fringe theatre maker, just start to think a little bit about the process of people arriving early to come into your show, to the moment when they've actually left at the end, and how they get in and get out. If you've got the resource, if a producer is available, if the director's up for a few days, there's nothing better than being there towards the end to thank people for coming, to give out some of the programs if there are any yourself, to support the ushers if you're really not doing anything else and it's a particularly difficult time. People have arrived late, they're trying to get into a venue, the venue's hot, there might be a few relatable things around it's hot in there, just to show a bit of empathy, rather than just seeing the ushers as some separate group of people that have a job to do. They will do that job, but I think a bit of support and energy is also important. So ushering at the Fringe, because it can be so difficult, flow can just be under a lot of pressure as more and more shows are packing into smaller venues and training is minimal, I think we have to all join up and make sure that the ushering doesn't become a problem. And I think there are respectful ways of offering feedback to an usher who's speaking in a very patronising way, who is talking down to potentially your customers who are coming into your show. Sometimes you might need to put in a more formal complaint if it's really bad behaviour, because we do that with anyone, not just ushers. My experience of the Brighton Fringe is that ushering is a tough job, and it's harder at Edinburgh, and the majority of people do it really well, get better at it over time, but some people get really tired. But the experience of an audience of your show is very much influenced by how they've been got in and out of the venue. Ushers, I salute you, and I just invite everybody here to see how important that role is, and that we do all we can to serve the audiences coming to see the work, and the people who are making the work, and everybody else who's up at a very busy, noisy, stressful Fringe, which means every member of the team, including ushers. We all deserve respect, we all need the skills to do the job, and it might be an issue worth talking about.